Before I begin this story of 10 different schools, most normal students go to school only three different school buildings. I went through 10. In elementary school, you go from kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Then you move on to junior high school or middle school, sixth, seventh, and eighth grades. Move on to your third building, high school, from your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. 3 buildings. I went through 10 different school buildings. Now beginning with the first of 10 schools. Number 1, Marshall Street Elementary. Now, a kindergarten, I remember her name being Mrs. Shoemaker, but I don't recall if the kindergarten was in Marshall Street Elementary or was another school since we just arrived in Norristown, Pennsylvania. We got there in October 1976. So, kindergarten would be the years 1976 and 1977. So, I'm not concrete sure that kindergarten was in Marshall Street. It might have been, but I do remember it was Mrs. Shoemaker. Then we go continue to first grade, Mrs. Mason. I remember her. Not many memories of first grade, though. Now, second grade, Mrs. Oswald. Very interesting memory of her. She very much reminds me, looked like, I have the class photo of her. I just don't know where it is right now to pull it out of my boxes. Mrs. Oswald very much reminded me of the late Princess of Wales, Princess Diana. Very much looked like her. That's a strong resemblance. We move on to Mrs. Levin, we go to third grade. Mrs. Levin, I wrote in my book a lot about her. But the situation with her is she couldn't interact very well with the students. She was the old school marm and would blame a class clown like Mike Malinowski, and if he acted up, the entire class acted up, and it interfered with our grades, which was unfair. Parent-teacher conference took place, and my parents and her were not on the same page, to say the least. Some kind of compromise occurred. I don't know why, but I was moved to another school. This is the second of 10 schools, Paul Fly Elementary. And I most remember Mrs. Wilkinson, and she's very detailed in my book. Now, the most interesting thing about Mrs. Wilkinson is she had a personal meeting in our apartment with my parents, and personally asked my parents to transfer me with her. She was going to the next school, Burnside Elementary. She said she would take care of all the paperwork. They had to do nothing. She wanted to get their permission, and they agreed. We go on to the third school, number 3, 5th grade, Burnside Elementary. Wonderful memories of the school, but Miss Wilkinson, I briefly had her at all. She disappeared. I had Mrs. Bernstein from my homeroom, wonderful teacher. I still have the classroom photo, and Mike Manowski, Carolyn Harris, a few others, very good close friends for Burnside Elementary for 5th grade, and that finishes K through 5 for elementary schools. Now we move on to the 4th school of 10, Stewart Middle School. Now we're into the middle years, which would be 6th, 7th, and 8th. 6th grade, I had Mrs. Cheryl Lee. Now, she got married during that time, and she became Mrs. Cheryl Lee Owens. And she also had a baby, and she brought the baby into class, and we all held the baby. On the strongest memories. And Mrs. Cheryl Lee Owens was one of my all-time favorite teachers. Continue on to 7th grade. I still remained at Stewart Middle, and Mrs. Cheryl Lee Owens was my 7th grade teacher. Now, there was a situation a story I call the spelling bee controversy, spelling bee travesty. It started at Stewart Middle School. It's in my book. I don't want to detail right now. But because my again, like many students, our parents change jobs and we have to move out of the area. We moved from Norristown to Plymouth Meeting or Conshohocken. They go between. They go right next to each other. I'm now part of the Colonial School District. I'm going to Colonial Middle School. I'm going on to my fifth of 10 schools. And the spelling bee travesty continued there, and it got worse. Another parental job move occurred, and we're going to Levittown, or the place of my birth. And I'm in the Bristol School District. And I looked at the list of schools. I don't recall the name of the school. And I'm continue. This is still in my 7th grade. Now this is 3 schools in the 7th grade in different towns. Stewart Middle School, Norristown. Colonial Middle School, Conshohocken. And a middle school in the Bristol School District in Levittown. Very, if not, I can't even recall what it was. We were briefly in Levittown, and Bristol, this middle school in Bristol School District is the 6th school. We moved back to Norristown. Job situation again, my parents. 7th of 10 schools. Eisenhower Junior High School, back in Norristown. And I think, and pretty much, I went through the entire 8th grade. It was only the graduating day, 8th grade, that was very disturbing. It's in my book. You'll have to read what happened. It's very, 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 very disturbing. Since I finished the 8th grade, I am now becoming a freshman in high school. We're moving now. Situation of 9th grade is, according to my brother, we moved to Philadelphia. Norristown, the property we lived in, my parents worked, was sold. So we moved to Philadelphia, which the real estate company we go to work for the next 12 years. But still in Norristown, according to my brother, we moved there in May of 1985. I have a strong, vivid memory of getting on a bus with a few of my old elementary school friends and going to Norristown area high school. It may have been an orientation trip, but I may have been there 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 1 week, maybe a few days. But I do have a vivid memory of going to the high school, and I would call that number 8 of 10 schools. Well, we finished the move to Philadelphia in September of 1985. The 9th school of 10 would be University City High School. And I met Mrs. Lee. I believe maybe her name been Deborah Lee, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on her first name. Mrs. Lee would be... when I knew a Mrs. Lee from middle school, she said, "That's my sister, Cheryl Lee Owens," when she recognized the Owens name. She's a very, again, like her sister, very, very good teacher. Some racist, controversial things happened with the administration of the University City High School, and they talked with the Philadelphia School District. We move on to the 10th school, Roxborough High School. And my homeroom teacher, Mr. Tarlow, wonderful man, and I had him continuously from the 10th to 11th to 12th, and I graduated Roxborough High School. And I felt still, since I entered 10th grade, I felt like the outsider. So that's all 10 schools, which a normal student would only have gone through 3.